Hello and welcome back to the Salmon's Pizzeria Championship Roundup. We're back for the most depressing podcast every week. Well, I say every week, it's a Scottish Cup next week, so what a time to return. We're back from our Christmas break. We've all had wins, we've all had losses, and we now have a new January signing. We have Josh, who is our new Falkirk representative. How are you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Good to be here. How are we all doing?
I want to die. Anyway, Kieran, you're back as well.
It's
How are
good.
you
It's
doing?
good to be back. Thank you very much for having us on. It's a pleasure being on here. But yeah, not a good time being a Thistle fan at the moment. So glad to hopefully get back into it.
Well, at least you guys are looking at a promotion playoff spot and not a relegation playoff spot.
Buy at least a ball here.
Aye. Everyone else below you is just not good enough to get anywhere above. But
I mean, it's
speaking of promotion, we had to start off this weekend of football. We're not going to cover Raith against Hamilton because all I can say about that is Accies are the worst team I have seen this season. And that's also including Raith and Linlithgow. We start off the weekend coverage with the big one, a top of the table clash at the Falkirk Stadium between, well, Falkirk and Livingston. And this was entertaining, to say the least. And I'm not just talking about the result. It starts off with a bit of an early stramash from Falkirk, which doesn't get converted, but then in the 13th minute, one of the Livingston players is running through and gets brought down by Nicky Hogarth, and it's a bit of a penalty. Unfortunately, I could only see one angle of it because Livingston TV, and I didn't bother looking at Falkirk TV because I didn't have the time. But yeah, it looked to me like it was one of those penalties where it's like you're just sort of annoyed by it being conceded. Like it's one of those where it's like the striker just nicks the ball away from the keeper just in time, and it's just sort of like, well, the keeper's got there's nothing the keeper can do but foul him.
Yeah, it was a very frustrating one, especially given the fact that it was Livingston's first real attack of the game. We had maybe two or three good chances. Again, we're putting pressure on them, and it's just a counter attack. I think it's Macaulay Tate for Livingston gets slid in, and I think Dylan Tate is shouting for Nicky Hogarth to come to the ball. Nicky Hogarth's wanting Dylan Tate just to clear it, and by the time he's come out, it's good play from Livingston just to nick it away. Very soft contact, but it's contact nonetheless, and it's a stone waller. You can't give the referee that decision to make.
Aye, and then Eden's favourite player, Robbie Muirhead, manages to tuck it away, gives Livingston a very important lead. This then leads to a barrage of the Livingston goal from Falkirk, but somehow they don't score and they're punished for it. They're punished for it from a Livingston corner, which leads to their own stramash. I think Brad Spencer manages to clear an initial shot off the line, but it's blocked somewhere in the box. And yeah, McAleer manages to bundle it into the net just before half time. It was, I've got my notes, 45 plus 4. So,
Yeah, that was
like,
that.
probably like one of like the last kicks before half time, pretty much.
Yeah, that was frustrating time to concede a second goal, especially given that there was only that much added time for all the play acting that Livingston were on the ground rolling about, all the dark arts that led to the added time in the first place. But corner kicks have become Falkirk's kryptonite in the last month or so. John McGlynn loves a zonal marking system, and first half of the season it was on point, really organised. And I think the last month or so, teams have started to unpick us. They've started to get us disorganised, and this is it's normally in swingers towards the back post that have caused us difficulties. But today it's been an out swinger that's just kind of, as you say, a bit of a stramash. Um, Nicky Hogarth ends up falling over, and there's that many players in the way he can't get back up. Um, it was just bit of a calamity moment for the Falkirk defence. But it was quite impressive how he took the goal. Been lying on the ground and he's managed to slice the ball in between the only space possible. So just to tip your hat and say well played. But very frustrating given the time and the fact that if Livy hadn't or goalie hadn't decided to roll around for 3 minutes, you probably would have been half time by then.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about the corner tactics because I think I'd seen something about the rate of goals being conceded from corners. I think there was something like 5 of 7 goals conceded were from corners or free kicks. So it's coming from set pieces.
So our last, I think it's our last 7 goals has been 4 corners and 3 penalties. So that's going back to the 3-all draw against Dunfermline, where it started, and every goal we've conceded since then has been from a penalty or a corner. So something has got to change on that front. The good positive thing is that that's something that can be coached. We can work on that. We're not conceding goals to open play, which is a good thing, but set pieces are still valuable to other teams, and it's a way for them to hurt you.
Yeah, because I am someone who knows all too much about conceding goals from corners and crosses and that sort of thing. Seeing as we do it seemingly every game, but we'll get onto that later.
It's just such a frustrating thing to watch, like conceding goals constantly, like to corners and set pieces, whatever. Especially before half time as well in that game. It just gives Falkirk a mountain to climb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's like if you're 1-0 down at halftime, it's a lot easier to come back. But it's like, see, when it's 2-0, it's like when it's 1-0, you think to yourself, okay, I might only need to make like a tweak here or there. It's like you might have got unlucky or whatever. But see, when it's 2-0, it's like you need to do something. Like something needs to get you back into the game, and something does get them back into the game. Brad Spencer manages to. It's like Falkirk managed to get themselves a penalty of their own, and again, it was definitely a penalty. there was no doubt about that one. And
Calvin Miller does fantastic down the left-hand side, and he slides in Barney Stewart. Don't know if anyone's hugely familiar with Barney Stewart, signing from Heriot Watt Uni. Was banging in goals for fun in the East of Scotland League.
I was going to say he was the uni boy.
Yeah, he got his first start, and he looked lively. He's a big, strong boy. I think he just got the wrong side of the defender and got brought down. It did look like he was falling down in slow motion. I think that made it look more dubious than it was. Just because he's such a big guy, the way he fell, it looked kind of soft. But on the replays, he's been caught. Clearly a penalty, and Brad Spencer's. I think he's only missed 1 penalty this year, but he made no mistake. Good, strong penalty.
I was just going to say Spencer just dispatches it. Easiest thing is, he does it all the time. So I'm not sure how many penalties Falkirk have got this season, but he doesn't miss penalties. I know that from his time at the Rovers. So
we've had about 5 or 6. Only one he missed. He did manage to get the rebound and score.
Yeah. Was that? I want to say, was that against Aki's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I remember covering that where I think whoever the Aki's goalkeeper was manages to save it, but it just came straight back to him. But yeah, after that, it's all Falkirk. It's all Falkirk. If anyone's going to score, it's Falkirk. But they don't. They just don't score somehow.
No, Livingston are very good at shutting up shop when they get that early lead. I have a joke with a few Livingston pals at work that they're more of a basketball team than a football team. It's an absolute man mountain of a back line. McGowan and Nottingham and players like that. They're hard to break down, and even the fact you're bringing on Finelson, he's a good right back to have in your starting team. Never mind bringing him off the bench. So a lot of experienced players in there. Just playing the game smartly. A few times Falkirk breaking forward. They're putting in very heavy challenges on halfway, and they're getting away with murder for the ref as per usual. Martindale's got that instilled in them, But it puts Falkirk off. Ethan Ross looked lively in the first 20 minutes, and he got crunched twice in the space of a couple of minutes, and that kind of quietens his evening. And that's the side of the game I wish Falkirk would do a bit more. It's just be a little bit clever. Sometimes I feel we're a bit too nice. We try and play the game too nice. Sometimes I think we need that wee bit edge, that wee bit dig.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like the most common thing I've said about Livingston. It's the fact it's like they're proving themselves to be very difficult to beat, but it's not through like being a better side than the opposition. It's just through being willing to be a bit more physical. They got a bit more physicality about them. That's their edge, and that's what's like, and the street smarts as well, as you say. It's just like anytime Falkirk are about to start breaking away, it's like they'll just get a tackle and they'll foul, and it allows them to reset. It's like it's part of the game, but it's just almost like we're allowed to be better about it. We've all been on the team again a bit.
It's fantastic when you're doing it for your team, but when it's
Oh,
against
absolutely.
you, it's the worst thing in the world.
Oh,
So-
definitely. I think that's just part of like Martin Dale's game as well. He's been doing it for years, and it's obviously paid off for him. They're still in the top flight, but obviously the championship as well, it's still paying off for them. So
yeah, as Falkirk cannot find an equaliser by the time the full-time whistle comes along, it means that this is their first home league defeat since April 2023. Of course, it's not their first home defeat of the season, as Raith Rovers bombed them out the cup a couple of weeks beforehand. Look, I need to get like some sort of joy out of doing this. Let me have it. And it does open the door for everyone else who's in the title fights, because it now means that it meant that Livingston are now a point behind Falkirk, and it gave Ayr the opportunity to leapfrog them should they go on to beat Accies, which we'll get onto in a minute. The last thing I want to cover about this game is the post-match reaction of Falkirk Twitter. So it's like Livy's admin is, in the nicest way possible, a bit of a shit house. And honestly, I'm all here for it, especially when it's not involving your team. And putting up stuff like attendances don't win games or whatever. And the Falkirk Daft podcast, as much as it's like probably good guys, it's just like they are so bitter, and it's really funny to watch. It's like they were really not happy when we beat them earlier in the season.
I know the guys well, actually, and they are good guys. They're not bitter. They just feel that it was a little bit lack of class. But in saying that, I'm sure if we'd won, they'd be giving it large as well.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's like the Falkirk Daft putting up this are you the Raith Rovers admin in disguise or something, and then the Raith Rovers admin coming in with the Charlie Mulgrew image. He's reaching into is just, and like the whole meltdown, the whole thing around that it made Friday night very enjoyable.
At least your Friday was good, because your Saturday certainly wasn't.
Nothing happened on Saturday. Anyway. So, with the top of the table being wide open, we now move to Lanarkshire, where Hamilton Accies were home to Ayr. As mentioned previously, Accies were defeated 3-0 by Raith on the Tuesday. They were awful, as mentioned, and it started off pretty bad for them as Ayr managed to get themselves a penalty. So here we go, another penalty that I'm having to talk about. And we're going to be talking about a lot of them, by the way. But yeah, it's just like, I'm not sure who the Accies player, not the Accies player, who the Ayr player was who took it, but
I believe it was Jay Henderson.
Sorry?
Yeah, it was Henderson, yeah.
Was it Henderson?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, it's like he put it bottom right, but unfortunately Dean Linus went the correct way and manages to save it, and then there's a bit of a strashing, but keeper gets it, and that was about it from the first half. Like, I don't recall anything else happening in the first half from the highlights.
No, I think it was Aki's that had a burst up the park into their box, but that was like the only other thing, and that happened before the penalty. So
Yeah.
I was sitting there going like, my first half notice is just like one line, and I'm like, what is going on here? But it seemed a bit of a non-event the first half.
Like, you just see like two things happen, and the teams
Yeah.
will just suddenly switch sides. It's like, is that it? Did nothing else happen? To be fair, these are not like playing it out. I'm not sure if you'd seen this, but on the Tuesday after the Aki's against Raith game, it's like when Aki's put up the highlights on Twitter, the first minute and 35 was just like dead footage from before the teams walked out. It was like completely bizarre. It was just like, is this the right footage? Is this the live stream we're watching again? But no, it was genuinely just like the first. That's just how like the first 90 seconds were. But no, it's like second half. Aki's were dominant somehow. Like, I think there might have been one or two air chances in there, but I was just like, that's an Aki's chance, Aki's chance, Aki. It was just like they were all over them somehow.
Yeah, I think they nearly scored. Didn't they nearly score for like 20, 25 yards or something like that?
Aye, there was.
Mm-hmm. They were very unlucky not to take the lead in the second half, to be honest.
Aye, absolutely. But the thing is, this is Aki's we're on about, and of course it comes falling down. It's like cross into the box, gets met by Mark McKenzie at the back post, who gives Ayr the lead on the 80th minute, and then across from a corner, and it's just sort of bundled into the net by George Stanger about 5 minutes after that opener, and that gives Ayr the lead, a 2-0 lead, coast home, victory, top of the table. And I think Ayr have won every single game in 2025, including the Cups. I think that was 5 or 6 games they've played this year.
5 for United in 2025, so they're certainly the on-form team in the league at the moment, and they don't seem like they're showing any signs of let-up. Even games where it's not going plain sailing, they just seem to be finding a way at the moment. McKenzie, a really experienced player, does well just to get on the end of that cross. 80 minutes is a fantastic time to score, because getting towards the last 10 minutes, both sides will start to throw everything at it. It can get a wee bit cagey, it can get a bit scrappy, but to get that goal 80 minutes, that's a winning mentality. Good time to score.
Aye, absolutely, and it really does blow the title race just completely open, because like I've been adamant that Falkirk were not going to win the league just due to the fact that it is John McGlynn. I have seen this many times before, but they could still do it. But of course, you'll think Falkirk will win the league because you're a Falkirk fan. But if I was to put my money on anyone, I would probably put it on Livingston, just out of pure. They'll do it, and it's like no one will be happy.
I've got a theory about that.
There'll be people wanting Ayr in the Premiership because it's someone new. There'll be people wanting Falkirk in the Premiership because they bring good crowds. They're a fairly sizable club. They've not been in
calling us a big club?
About 15 years, I think. But it's just like, if Livingston go up, it's like no one will be happy apart from like the 10 Livingston fans that exist.
Good to hear you calling us a big club there, Callum. But also, my theory on this is that Livingston will drop points more. Well, they'll drop more points against the rest of the league than Falkirk and Ayr. I honestly think Falkirk have Ayer's number on a 1-to-1 basis. I know they beat us 5-2, but that was due to that sending off. It was never a sending off in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
we were already 1-0 up.
Oh god, I remember having to cover that. I was so baffled by it. I was just like, what on earth is this?
So, and we were already one ahead potentially. Like, it was 1 going on 3 within the first 10 minutes, and then we get that, and that changed the game. So, I really do think Falkirk match up strongly against Ayr United. Obviously, we've got that game in 2 weeks' time. That'll be a huge match. Falkirk obviously have that game in hand against Airdrie, who I wish we had played them before Christmas or just after Christmas rather than the on form that they've hit the now. So I do think it will be a toss up between Falkirk and Ayr though. I think Livingston is as clever and physical as they are. I don't think they've got a potent enough attack to break down some of the stuffier teams. And look at some of the results they've lost this year. I can think that teams like Dunfermline will I hate much I hate to say it, they'll come good. I think they'll be all right, and I think Tids is a decent manager. I think they might be able to take points off Livingston, teams like that, teams like yourself, Raith
We've
Rovers.
already beaten them this season as well.
Slightly more rejuvenated. I think you'll pick up points against Livingston, etc. So.
Like, we don't play them away from home anymore, so I think we're fine. But yeah, it does seem to be a case of who's going to drop. It just seems to be a case of just avoiding dropping as many points, and you're going to win the league because everyone's taking points off of each other at this point. Speaking of just dropping points, we have our only draw of the weekend. It is Thistle drawing 2-2 with Greenock Morton. Aidan was at the game, but he's unavailable, and I can't be bothered asking for voice notes because it's just awkward to fit. I don't know how it's done. I don't do the editing. But yeah, so the game starts off. This was a bit of an end-to-end game, and I would say a draw was definitely a fair result.
Yeah, Morton only scored like 35 seconds into the game, and it was after we had a chance. Like, I think it was about the 15th second. But yeah, it was fairly end to end. We had a corner, but on the 10th minute, but Riley headed it well over the bar, and it's a case of our season, but we're just not clinical enough in the box. Our shots are either going well wide of the ball or over the bar or whatever. But then when the penalty came, I can't really comment on if the penalty was a dive or not, or if Chalmers dive or not. Sorry, but it did look soft on Jagzone. But they didn't even show a highlight of the tackle on their highlights. They just showed the tackle happening and it moved to the penalty.
Yeah, from watching the Morton TV, again, it was just the one angle that we got, and it was one of those where it's like it was soft, but it's those ones that you just see given. It's like you'd be raging if it wasn't given for you, but if it was given against you, you'd be like,
you'd be absolutely livid.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the usually reliable Brian Graham takes it.
Yeah, and then apparently Turner was going to take the penalty, but it was given to Graham like last minute.
He demanded the ball, took it off him.
Apparently that's what happened. Because I obviously wasn't at the game, and I've seen people being like, "Oh, Graham took the ball off Turner or whatever," and I'm like, well, if that's the case, that's pretty shocking. However, Graham scored. I think out of the 10 penalties he scored for Thistle, he scored 6 and missed 4. And it's fairly recently he started scoring them, but obviously this one he missed a penalty. It was a bit of a poor penalty, I felt, but
yeah, I would agree. It was pretty poor.
Fairly poor.
For
Graham's standards anyway. Especially recently, he's been fairly decent for scoring penalties, but obviously wasn't to be at the weekend.
He's gone for power, but goalie's done well. I mean, he's guessed correctly. He's got down. He stayed at his feet. But if you're going for power, you've kind of got to get some height on it. He's at a perfect height for the goalie to get something on it.
Yeah, definitely. And then before Morton took the lead, it was a bit of a scramble in the box. We just could not get rid of it. Our defence just looked really shaky. And then the goal that they scored, and it's again a bad time to concede right before half time. It's a free kick, and I don't know what the fuck Mitchell's doing, but he just stands in the spot, and you're like, what are you doing? But I think it should also be blocked as well, the free kick.
Yeah, it was a weird one. It was it was like it was hit low. It was hit with power, but
Mhm.
I'm like, did it go like to the side of the wall? Did it go through it?
Yeah, it was a very confusing one for me, but I think both Mitchell and whatever the wall was should take blame for that as well.
So
And
like
then
Morton go in at
obviously,
half
oh
time.
sorry, Callum, on you go.
I was going to say, so it's like Morton going at half time with the lead, but second half comes around and Thistle do manage to get an equaliser. O'Reilly manages to score from a volley that's coming from a corner. It's hit off someone, but
Yeah,
O'Reilly's managed to turn a finish, which is a pretty good finish. I'll give him that.
yeah. I think after equaliser as well, you think it's time to kick on and grab the winner and try and get the game back under control. But Megwa and Mitchell have an absolute utter nook. For Morton's for Morton's goal to take the lead. It's an
Absolutely,
absolute
I'm just
comical
watching it. It was just
comical
like,
goal.
what is going on here? What have you done?
Yeah, like
Steve
even
Reeves is
Mitchell
like the
for it. Like
easiest
when he
goal to
spills
score.
it, and when Mitchell spills it, it just trickles over the line.
It just trickles onto the line, and Stupid Reeves
Yeah,
is led to just finish it home. So it's just like,
yeah.
well done on scoring against someone other than Raith Rovers, Philip.
And then in the
You're never going
highlights
to
as
get an
well, the
easier
Grand Zone
opportunity.
highlights, you can see Ashcroft and Robinson going fucking apoplectic, like at Megwa, and I think Mitchell as well. I think both of them, but Ashcroft specifically is going mental at Megwa for it, and he's just screaming in his face. Again, you can't blame him. Megwa's been a bit of a letdown, I feel, this season. Um,
It's weird.
like
He was like the most wanted right back
he was fan seeing
after
that
his spell at Airdrie last
playoff
season.
game away to Airdrie. He was fucking amazing. Like he pocketed Milne and Fitzpatrick that night. And it was a player like me and my pals after a game on the bus going back home. We were like, I would like us to like, get Megwa, and he started his debut was fantastic for us, and then I don't know I don't know what's going on, but he's been a bit poor really since then.
He's certainly been one of the more disappointing signings across the whole division. I think the whole league were in for him, trying to get him on loan. Partick obviously lucky to get his signature, and I remember when I watched the 1-1 draw at your place,
hmm
and I was actually disappointed in his play from what you've seen from last season and all the hype around him. He's been a disappointment for. You think maybe teams have started to work him out a wee bit, work out how to play against him. So
That's thing. I think defensively he's good, and like he can take a man on, he can beat a man on, but his final product is absolutely woeful as well. Like every time he gets to the byline, they'll get into positions and then just hit it off first man every time. And Airdrie fans did warn us of that as well. They say that his final product is pretty poor. So we're like, look, we can train that out of him. You know what I mean? Like how long we've got him on loan for. You know what I mean? We can train it out of him, but he's still doing it. He's still doing it. So it's pretty poor. And then again, like there's no sign of being clinical in the box with shots firing well, like wide over the bar. And then for our last minute equaliser, Abadi does, I felt, incredibly well to set up the equaliser. It shows both power and strength in it. And obviously Chalmers just is in the right place at the right time to tap it in. But I think Abadi should start next week, especially after setting that equaliser up. You know what I mean? It's energy we're lacking. You know what I mean at the moment, and I feel we could bring that next week. But even after the last minute equaliser, sorry, I feel completely deflated. I feel the club at the moment is a complete shambles across the board, both on the pitch and off. It's really not good.
Yeah, I was just going to say about the equaliser. This ball just comes in, and Chalmers is just there, back post,
hmm
easiest thing for him to sort out. It's open goal, right place,
Yeah,
right time.
definitely. If he missed that,
If he missed that, that would have been very
yeah,
hard to whistle.
yeah. But the club at the moment, I've not got any words. Obviously, about the Harry Milne kind of thing, and fair enough. You can't begrudge him. He's moved to Hearts. But like letting go of Charlie Sayers before that as well, like the couple of days before the transfer window, and then obviously this comes in, and it's looking bleak at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's. I think today, the day that we're recording this on the 3rd, and it's like Mel has just was announced like as of recording about 45 minutes ago, and it's like today's the last day to make any permanent signings,
Yeah.
but you've got until
Maybe for the loan window.
1st of March, I want to say, for loan signings as well. So
Yeah,
could
definitely.
be
We need a
something in the
goalkeeper
works, but it
certainly.
is weird. Thistle just seem to have like, I think Thistle have lost what 3 or 4 players, including Miles Roberts.
I think it's 7.
Have you brought anyone in?
No, we haven't brought anyone in.
Oh, no.
So it's 7 and 0, and then Milne's obviously went the other way, so that's now 8. But I think we've brought in Ethan Drysdale, and from on loan from Hearts as part of the deal. So that's 1 in, and I think there's rumblings of like Scott Martin signing. I think that's kind of all over Twitter at the moment. But that's a centre mid, but we don't need a centre mid. We need a goalkeeper. You know what I mean? We don't need another fucking centre mid. But
bring back Miles Roberts.
Not going back on loan.
So what? There was murmurings. Obviously, Watford have signed a keeper back. So then, like, it would make sense for us to bring it, but I don't think we are bringing back Miles Roberts. I would love it. I would love us to, but I don't see it happening. Personally,
that's the thing. I do wonder where Roberts will go, because it's like he was like we've sung his praises on this show plenty of times.
Yeah,
like he's done really well at Partick Thistle. So if he is going to go out on loan, he might not come back. He might go. Watford might look and be like, maybe like another level, maybe to, I don't know if there's a Scottish Premiership team looking at a goalkeeper. He might end up in English League 1 or 2 somewhere. He might, no idea what will happen with him. But
at the start of the window as well, it was rumoured to go on loan to Ross County. So like it does show that there is Premiership teams there sniffing about him, but he absolutely deserves it. If he goes to top flight, he deserves it, more than deserves it. He's a fantastic keeper. I could not speak highly of him enough. But then the Milne is just, it's an absolute blow, to be honest. I think he's probably best left back I've seen in my time in Thistle. Anyway, we've had a good few left backs in my time spotting Thistle, but I think Milne's the best I've seen. I don't think he's the best full back though, because probably I think Jack McMillan's probably just edges that. But the Milne, especially the last few,
better left backs in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I was about to say he's probably the best left back in the league, but there is a good few. So I wouldn't want to say that, and then people are like, no, this guy's better than whatever. But
I think he's certainly up there in the top, at least kind of 2 or 3.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So,
I think Kieran Adams is up there as well. I think he's a fantastic player for Falkirk, but it's not looking good. And we were speaking off camera, like we're in the playoffs, so I can't really still be like beat down by it, but we're still. I don't know. It's just not good.
It's like you get into the playoffs by default at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're just stumbling into the playoffs. Like that's just how it feels at the moment. And there's basically no updates for the club in that as well, and you're like, just what is going on? You know what I mean?
Aye, one team that is definitely helping with your ability to stay in the playoffs is Queen's Park, as they were defeated 2-1 away against Airdrie. And to be fair, if I was to go back through my notes, it would probably be like a fairly similar game for just about every Airdrie game that I've covered, where it's a case of Airdrie have all the chances, but Airdrie would end up losing. But Airdrie have won a game. They beat Dunfermline. They beat Dunfermline 3-0 the previous weekend. And that gave me a bit of too much hope for other things. But yeah, it's like, once again, Airdrie were pretty dominant in the first half. But it's like, once again, it's just like, they must be the least clinical. It's like before last week, I would have been saying Airdrie are the least clinical team in the league, because like every game they were having like 10 plus shots and just none were going in. But they do get the lead through a Wilson penalty. Now, I had to watch the replay quarter speed about 3 or 4 times to work out how on earth, like, what on earth happened here to be a penalty. And it's like really unlucky. It was really unlucky for Queen's Park, because the ball comes in for a free kick, I think it was. An Airdrie player misses it. It bounces off a Queen's Park player's stomach. And at first I was like, it's just hit off that. How is that a penalty? But then I see there was a Queen's Park player behind and it's hit off his hand. And it's just sort of like, well, how? That is just like, it's really unlucky. It's a penalty, but it's also what he meant to do about it. Yeah, so Airdrie had the lead at half time, and they
were very
Oh,
unfortunate not to be more than like 2, maybe even 3 up as well at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
They absolutely battered Queen's Park.
Aye, but then Airdrie's downfall this season has been their defence, and it showed with the second goal, where it was just one pass, just right through the middle, and Scott is there to slide it away just on the hour mark, and it was, to be fair, it was an excellent through ball. But you're just thinking how it's not like it was a cross or anything where it's just like, oh, you can maybe be like, oh, the height or whatever. No, but this was along the ground. This is like a 30-yard diagonal through ball through like a packed midfield that has somehow got to a Queen's Park player to put home. And you're just thinking how it's like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, that's on the one hand, like, that's an excellent ball, but also you're really wanting your defenders to not concede those type of goals. But it just seems very common for Airdrie.
Yeah, I think maybe just a lack of confidence in defending that.
Sorry, Josh, on you
as well. Sorry, mate. I was just going to say, maybe a lack of confidence in the Airdrie backline and try to defend a ball like that. What you're really wanting is kind of your main centre half to come up and just deal with that. And then I think too many just stand off it. A little bit too passive in their defending. As you say, it's a great ball. It's a good finish. But yeah, it's very poor defending.
Yeah, it's like, I was just having a look, and Aki's and Airdrie are now tied for the worst defence, both on 22 games and 42 goals conceded. They're both conceding. That's just under 2 goals a game, really, and it's just sort of like, that is, you're not really going to win many games with that sort of defence. And I mean, granted, a lot of those from Airdrie have been in the first, like, pre-Christmas, where they were just absolutely honking. and they have started to see a bit of a turn in form, and that continued when a second Airdrie penalty for a handball was given 5 minutes later. Ball gets played through, Airdrie player controls it with his chest, and it just goes towards a Queen's Park player who has his hand sticking out behind him. And you're just sort of, those are 2 really unlucky penalties, but they're also 2 like stonewall penalties at the same time. It's
as a Queen's Park fan, you'd be absolutely raging at, but first of all conceding 2 penalties, but conceding 2 penalties in that fashion, and ultimately leading to your defeat on the day. You know what I mean?
And once again, Wilson converts, and the rest of the game really was all Airdrie again.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I'm watching through Airdrie TV, but So it's just like, I don't know what the process is, whether they only just take your teams or whatever, but it was mostly Airdrie pretty much. It's like Airdrie should have won that comfortably. It could have been 3 or 4 by the end of the game. But the most important thing to happen at the end of the game has got to be Adam Devine getting a second yellow card for complaining to the referee after being kicked in the head. And it's not like, it's like sometimes it's a case of, right, yes, you have been kicked in the head, but you're also at like, you're doing like a diving header or something. You're at knee level. It's just like you're bound to get kicked in the head. No. Adam Devine was in the box and he was mostly standing up. But it's like the Airdrie player got the ball first and cleared it. And it's just sort of, on the one hand, it's like, yes, the Airdrie player got the ball first. But also, he's kicked a boy in the head.
Yeah.
He was standing. It's just like, you do... I'm not entirely sure what the rules are for that situation, but like it's definitely high feet. It's just like, why is... It's just like... And also, booking for complaining. It's like, when has that ever been implemented this season? Like, I don't think I've seen a single booking for that in any Raith game this season. I have seen so many players, complaining at referees.
I watched it back earlier, and the way he complains, it's not as if he's gone right up into the referee's face either. It's not as if he's I don't think it's been anything worth getting a yellow card, but I don't know
He's
what he
standing
said.
like 10 yards away. He's standing where he's been kicked in the head, and he's just looking at the
if you
referee.
watch,
Like, what are you
the
doing?
referee,
Unless he said
he's
something.
desperate to get his yellow card out as well. You can see as soon as he starts making the walk towards him, he's straight in towards his card. So, but I would understand why you're fuming after that challenge. You're expecting a foul. You've just been clattered, and it was a heavy challenge. It wasn't as if it was just light contact. It was a full on boot to the head. How two officials who have both got good views of it are not coming to a decision there is kind of just showing how lacking the referees are in the championship this season, and I don't say that lightly because I know a few officials, and I used to be a referee at kind of lower league at lower standards, so I don't like to criticise referees, but the championship this season has been a very poor standard of officials, and it's something that Scottish football really needs to look at.
Welcome to the Championship Roundup, where we are once again criticising referees. There's never a game without it. It's just like some sort of like referee meltdown, pretty much. Been doing this all season, and it's like I genuinely don't remember the championship being this bad when it comes to referees, other than this season. Like, it's just like every game week there is one game where it's like we've got all our notes and whatnot, and we're just like, what on earth is the referee doing? Granted, half of them have been Raith games, so it's been me complaining. But also Aidan complaining about Morton referees, Kieran complaining about the referees at Partick games. Even in games where we've won, we've been complaining, where we're just like, what on earth is going on here? So, yes, as mentioned, Airdrie do hold up to get the win, so that's in back-to-back wins. They are at double-digit points. Let's give them all a round of applause. Well done. You are not going to join Brecon in the era of teams who managed to only get like single-digit points. What a time that was. And the final game that we have to... Actually, no, we don't have any more games to cover, actually. Raith and Dunfermline did not play, did they?
Well, I think they played. I think we should give the hat-trick hero his
no,
glory.
I don't think there was any games at all involving these two. I mean, as mentioned, Raith only played against Hamilton. That's all that happened. Fine, I'll fucking talk about it. So, first half, not much really happened for either team. Like, there was a couple of half chances. But Dylan Easton, being the man that he is, wins a penalty. What a surprise! And before you say this was a stonewaller, like I know he's got this ability to just turn anything, just get a penalty out of nothing sometimes. but this one was very much a penalty, and he manages to slow it home right before half time, slides over to the section northwest, fingers and ears, all good, loving everything. Second half starts
see before we go on to the thing, they just Easton gets struck with something because I think I was watching Pars TV or something like that, their highlights, and it looks like he fucking like touches his head or something. I don't know if he was thrown by it, but
that
I
wouldn't
don't know if you
surprise me.
noticed that, but
That wouldn't surprise me.
it probably did happen, yeah.
Something
I
did
think that
happen,
happened in the
though.
last derby, whatever. Did a Rovers? I think a Rovers player did get hit by something in the last derby as well from those gimps in the corner. So not surprising at
Well,
all.
if Easton had been hit by anything, though, we'd have all known about it because they'd have been still rolling to this day.
Trying to get them all sent off. I believe there should be a stadium banning order and a -3 points for Dunfermline. I think we should get the 3-0 win because we were winning at the time. I think that's just how it should have just abandoned it, just keep it at that. But yeah, unfortunately, this is Raith Rovers, where we can only have one good half of football a game, and you sort of have to pray that we have a large enough lead to stand up against it. All the other team is somehow worse, which is what happened at Hamilton. Unfortunately, that did not happen at East End Park. First 5 minutes, Raith had 2 good chances, and then after that, I don't think I'd seen the ball in the Dunfermline box. Yeah, so Dunfermline have a corner, and there's a bit of a smash, and it's like Ross Matthews goes to clear it, but then just completely misses the ball. Dunfermline player gets onto it, hits a shot, and it is a brilliant save. Unfortunately, it's by Paul Hanlon. Paul, you can't use your hands. So, of course, penalty to Dunfermline. Chris Keane steps up and manages to squeeze it just under Dabrowski, and it's one of those where you're just looking, it's like, why has this happened? It's okay, but it's fine, right? Both teams, we both scored a penalty, we've both been shite. Let's just get on with it. If it finishes a draw, it finishes a draw, and then from another corner, it's just bounced about, and I think Nwenya hits a shot. I'm not sure who the Dunfermline number 3 is. I think it's Nwenya. I'm going to look really bad if I have this wrong. He takes a shot. It goes into the box. Kevin has it all covered. Unfortunately, Chris Keane is standing there. He scores with his arse. Like he wasn't doing anything. He was just stood there, and it deflects off him, and it goes into the other corner. And you're just thinking, well, why? Why do I bother?
I can see when I watched the highlights first time, I had to watch it a couple of back, like a few times back, because I was like, that Dunfermline player just scored an absolute thundercut. But then I seen the Chris Gain put his hands up and celebrate, and I'm like, oh, it's actual fucking deflected off him. You know what I mean?
He was just stood there.
Yeah. I'm like, why is he celebrating as if it's his own goal? Because I was about to say that's a fucking screamer, but obviously it deflects off him.
I got a very good view of it, unfortunately. And then to finish us off, I don't know what happens. Like Scott Brown puts a tackle in, but it's in this weird middle ground where it just ends up falling into the box. And I don't know if it was Chris Keane or if it was Craig Whiten. It's one of those baldies who play up front for Dunfermline. They managed to get onto the end of it just before Kevin gets there, and they get brought down. Chris Keane steps up and gets the worst hat-trick I have seen us concede, and I go home and get very drunk and watch the Bathurst 12 hours instead, because that was a better use of my time. I am not elaborating on this any further. So anyway, now that my depression is out of the way, we might as well have a look at the table. So, as mentioned, Ayr are currently top on 47 points, but with 23 games played. Falkirk are second on 46 with 22 games played. Then it's Livingston on 45, 23 games played. Thistle are fourth on 36 points with 23 games played. Queen's Park are fifth with 29 points with 23 games played. Morton are on 27 points now in 6th. They've played 21 games. They have 2 games in hand because I'm trying to think. They've got to play us because that was postponed due to a gas leak, and I can't remember what the other one is. Trying to think. What was the other Morton postponed game? Aidan would know this straight away.
Frozen Pit, was it not?
Is it with Falkirk?
No, like the same weekend, like the 5th of January, that weekend.
And
or the one
Raith
after that.
Morton as well on 27 points, but we've played a game more. But then we have our game in hand against them.
So they had a game on hand against us, but obviously we played them Hogmanay, so I'm kind of struggling to figure out who the other team is.
Yeah, I'm just looking for. So, it might be Airdrie. It might be Airdrie.
Because we've got a game in hand against them.
Dunfermline have played 23 games and they've got 22 points. Hamilton are in 9th now with after 22 games and 21 points, and Airdrie are on 12 points from 22 games.
Is there a game in hand against us, Airdrie?
Oh yeah, because it was a. So it must be
Hamilton. I think it's Hamilton.
It must be Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton out Capel, 18th of February. They play.
The game on Tuesday between Raith and Hamilton was a previously postponed game.
Mm-hmm. I play Hamilton Tuesday the 11th. Not Tuesday the 11th. 18th. At Capel.
So it seems we very much have like a bunch of different groups now when it comes to this championship table. You've got your top 3 of Ayr, Falkirk, Livingston. You've got another group of Queen's Park, Morton, and Raith, and then you got another. When you go up Dunfermline and Hamilton fighting out for that last relegation playoff spot, you've got Airdrie, who is still a wee bit away, but it's like they've won the last 2 games. Who knows? And of course, Partick Vessel just sort of exist.
Yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately.
Oh God, I'm allergic to Partick Vessel. Anyway, we won't be having a roundup next week because the only game is Falkirk against Partick Vessel. I need to look at what the Scottish Cup games are because I know that Raith are away to Celtic because we beat Falkirk in the last round. Ayr at home to Hibs on the Friday night. That's on BBC if I'm remembering correctly.
It's Friday night, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a Friday night game, aye.
Yeah,
Rangers Queen's Park
Friday
as well.
Night. BBC. Airdrie are away to Dundee. Hamilton are away to St Johnstone. Raith away to Celtic. That's on Premier Sports. Dunfermline away to Aberdeen in what is like, I think I'd seen something about there being like a special Jimmy Calderwood Memorial Trophy thing because he passed away recently and he managed both of the teams. But there was definitely something, and I've heard there was also every pound from ticket sales was going to an Alzheimer's charity. I think that one's on BBC. And Queen's Park away to Rangers. That one's on Premier Sports. Actually, no. Yeah. Trying to think. Premier Sports. BBC. Yeah, and then St Mirren against Hearts is on the Monday night. Is that
BBC?
TV? That has to be on TV. I'm not sure. That might be BBC. And then Livingston are at home to Cove. I forgot Livingston were in the championship. So yeah, that's the Scottish Cup fixtures, and as mentioned, Thistle against Falkirk is the only championship game. So we are not coming back for that, unless Kieran and Josh want to fight it out between themselves.
I'll see what happens at full time, but I'm absolutely. I can see the result. No.
If it's a 0-0 draw, we'll just have the intro and it's like 10 seconds of saying, this game happened, here's next week's fixtures, and then outro. It's like a minute-long podcast.
Brian Graham missed another penalty in the 91st minute to 1.
So yeah, that is all for the return of the Depression podcast. we will see you for the next one, where hopefully one of our teams wins a game. It doesn't happen very often. Yeah, yes, fingers crossed, Josh. Well, maybe not for you lot, but who knows? But yeah, bye for now.